Testing audio 1 2 3. Welcome in, everyone, to Fimorth on Twitch and Better Done Right on YouTube. We are dual streaming this evening, and I have a few updates since the last stream. We are on the OpSpot Tiny 2s. I've actually gotten those all set up. We have some different boxes to look at, some little stream upgrades, some kind of fun niceties, and then I do have a lot of discussion points on what I was trying to stream today that got severely scuffed because of a very root issue that I kept troubleshooting more and more, thinking I was actually correcting the issue, and I just wasn't. It was a very basic, not necessarily basic, but a very root problem. Okay, it was basic, now that I remember. It was very basic. But I guess let's just take a look at the camera setup. So the OpSpot Tiny 2s have been acquired as part of a webcam review that I'm doing. The lighting setup above is going to stay static, and I think what I'll probably do is set up some of the lights in the background to function as like bad lighting or different lighting temperatures, just some different setups. And I should be able to set up a webcam, remote operate the different lights, and then be able to do one take with each camera and hopefully get a pretty thorough take, because one of the cameras I already want to return. So and that's not the OpSpot Tiny 2s. The OpSpot Tiny 2s are incredible. There's a remote. I got a kit with 3, which was still expensive, obviously, but it was a used kit. So it was a little bit cheaper. And the whole time I was setting it up on stream, I was wondering to myself, who the heck would give this up? Because I was astounded by it. And then I hit the snag of I couldn't get everything to work in OBS, but I did eventually figure that out. Junk Midget, thank you for the raid, sir. He did naughty things with it. What are you talking about? Another casual Junk Midget opener. You missed the very beginning of stream. We had a little kind of a soft opening, Junk, for the stream. I thought I'd do something a little bit different. So we did a little ASMR session, and we opened with assembling something. I went ahead and already unboxed something that I've acquired for the stream. So let me show you that. Isn't it beautiful? But so that's the webcams that we have set up. They are pan, tilt, and zoom. And the remote lets me cycle between up to 4 cameras, up to 3 preset positions per camera, and then I can also take manual control at any time. So I believe this webcam is set up to look at the other webcam. So that's the top-down webcam. And I can just press the button and it does its thing. We also have a webcam behind me that is looking over, and I'll kind of be giving you a sneak peek of what's to come here. There we go. And I should be able to point that one back at myself. Something I forgot to mention, there is a new acquisition as of today. This was a very fortunate thing to collect. I should be able to give you a closer view here. If I go top camera, excuse me, top camera, and then possibly we may have already reset that one on accident. No, doesn't look like it. There it goes, finally. So there's a little off-camber Dutch angle for you. But yes, I have acquired a CRT screen. It's mostly to fit the theme of the retro PC that we built to stream with. And I've been learning from my friend Autumn Rose, who's in chat today, that there are many benefits to the analog process. And I can tell you right now, this is the lowest screen input latency, or the latency chain from input to me seeing it is the lowest that I have ever had. And it is the oldest monitor that I've ever used. I'm sure OLED is comparable in many ways, but it's absolutely phenomenal. So I do have some fun ideas for what to actually use this for. Obviously, we are going to play games on it. That is a guarantee. That might be a little bit tricky for me to figure out, but we are going to do it. That is the guarantee. But I also want to integrate the chat at some point. I think it would be fun to on screen have a camera that is just pointing at this monitor, so it kind of has its analog qualities. I think that would be a lot of fun. But so that was today's acquisition. I had looked at 2 local listings, and one would have been about $100, and it would have been from like a local recycling, probably a nonprofit, local kind of electronics recycler. And that I was totally fine with that, but that would have been a tomorrow pickup. So then there was another option for the same monitor from someone, not necessarily closer, but they were available today. And in the process of going to get that one, which was going to be $40, I stopped at another local computer repair store to pick up the adapter that I needed. And I bought the adapter. Then I said, "You guys don't have any CRT screens, do you?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, I've got 2. So he grabbed the one that I bought. I bought it from there. He brought it out. I kind of just went, "Oh, it's perfect." The other one I was looking at had kind of a dark gray or a black plastic exterior, and I was going to have to paint it because it has to match the case. It has to match the case. And he brought this one out, and I was like, man, thank you. So I ended up getting that for $60, which is reasonable. There's a lot of listings where they're taking advantage of the analog gamers, the old school gamers. So they're very, very expensive. So I was glad to pick that up. He did also show me photos that they have, I guess, an original like Mac, like 2nd edition Macintosh CRT screen that is all green. And it looks very cool, but I had to let that go. Maybe they'll still have it at some point, and I'll just have to pick it up. But a little bit of history there, especially with the Macintosh. But we have some other things to look at. I'm kind of deciding, one of my topics to talk about is what I was originally planning to stream and all the issues I encountered there. But I kind of want to just get started with opening up a few things, because I think that'll be a little less tech heavy on what we talk about. So why don't we start with that? One of the things is, there we go. Okay. So one of the things is this little letterboard. These are classic, how can I say this nicely? Features in a white woman's kitchen. Typically you see the child posed with these, and the letters will say like first day of school or something like that. But they're pretty cool. I like the aesthetic. This one in particular ended up being seeming like it was maybe a smaller outfit that made it. So there were some good feels purchasing it. And there's a tiny bit of glue in the corner that I would love to cut out. But I think I've got a few options and reasons for why I got this. One would be to replace the starting screen here. And it would just say like stream is starting. I like the idea of a live, just anything that I can integrate that's like practical effects, live takes and things like that, I would like to do. So the idea of this sitting in the frame and the camera being here and there being some kind of clear, unique, non-AI generated physical representation that this is in fact live and this is a real thing. It's not just a picture. Or I can go the route of I just take pictures of this for different things, like we are paused, or just to take place of, for instance, like my BRB text, which I could make it nicer, but it's kind of fun to have this, and it was $10. So I feel like that's, I'm sure that's cheaper than some overlay packages for some streams. So that's an option. Another thing we could do, because I'm always trying to integrate all of my projects and then use other projects as little demos to kind of show off what can be done, what can be achieved with different things. So that's with 3D printing, lasers, 3D modeling, all of the camera gear, all of the nerdy gear stuff. It would be a lot of fun to do some stop motion animations with this. So you could just animate the letters coming out, and then maybe you could eventually show how you can convert that into a GIF, and then maybe that would be the, like if you had it, if it was just saying like loading ... but it animated in and then trailed off and you had like a 10-second loop of that, and that was just your stream is starting, counting down, whatever. That would be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of educational things you can throw in there to have a nice result. Let me catch up on chat. Yes, very momcore. Yeah, I like the idea of live shots. Another example of integrating everything is between 3D printing, a macro lens, and the laser cutter. I want to make, sorry, there's a very angry driver going by. I want to make a little version, maybe even we got to a feature of the camera a little bit early. If I can get it to recognize again. There we go. So that's a bit of a spoiler. We weren't going to get to that quite yet. But anyway, I talk with my hands a little bit too much. But the idea is to have a little diorama of a streaming room. And it would look like one of the little AI generated, like, make me this kind of lo-fi space. It's something you'd expect to see in a AI lo-fi video, music video on YouTube. But something like that, something that's cozy, maybe has some ideal, what I think would be a lot of fun to have in the future. And we can make all those little tiny things, paint them, model them, whatever we have to do. And then that becomes a miniature set that represents the studio, or it just represents the studio in general. And that is the intro. And there maybe is like one of those on-air signs on the wall. And I am thinking of integrating lighting into this as well. This would be miniature, it'd have lighting, and you just have a camera, a macro lens, like stuck in there recording, and it would have some kind of passage of time that you could tell. Obviously that kind of thing, you can't do it live forever. You'd be occupying, a camera that you may want to use for something else. So it would make sense to maybe do it a few times, change it up, and then once you're really happy with it, maybe you can just record it and use that as a loop in the future. And now that project is settled and you can move on to the next one. So that's one idea. So that's pretty simple for this letterboard. It's not too complex of a topic like some of the tech topics have been lately, but we do have some other things. This is quite exciting. This is more of a tool to be used at a later date, and I'm slowly trying to get more measurement tools, I think is maybe the right way to describe it. Anything that I can use to illustrate the different things that are going on. That's, to me, it's like good writing. Not that I know much about good writing. I clearly can't spell, but good writing is like saying and describing things, but not in like the most blatant terms. You can actually describe it in your own way. And that's where the art comes into it. And for me, being more of a visual medium artist and creative person, I like the idea of being able to show mundane things in different ways, or show something in a different way to somebody else. So this is a component of that. But welcome in, Marbles. It's great to see you. It's been a little while. Are you studying again? Well, you shouldn't be. Hopefully it's the weekend for you. But it's great to see. It's been a little while. You would have come by when I was still streaming on my phone and getting all of this set up. So this should be, hopefully this blows you away a little bit. I was demoing where things are moving to, some of the things that have been acquired to get all this up and running. But my remote will work. This is magnetic paper. And if I was a good planner and presenter, I would have gotten a magnet already. But now I have a magnet. So there we go. So this will be used in videos to kind of show people what's actually going on. So this paper, I don't know the actual construction of it, if it's kind of like iron particles that are suspended, or if there's some kind of change of state here. But you can visualize magnetic fields. You can visualize flux lines with this. So clearly this has a torus, a donut shape to its magnetic field. So it's we're basically looking at a donut top down, and the flux lines are traveling out towards us and back around. If we had a different magnet that had like a north and south pole, you would see the flux lines traveling from north to south. So it'd be a different perspective. So it'll be kind of interesting. Like, even, let's say we even looked at a phone that had the MagSafe. This would be a way of kind of demonstrating different accessories and things like that. So this will end up being very useful. To me, it's more of a tool more than anything, but it's still very exciting. It's a fun little demo. Doing last minute homework and then you're gonna start gaming. That's awesome. Well, hopefully you feel confident about the test that's coming up. That's the main thing. feeling confident but not deluded. I've had my fair share of thinking I had something going, knew what I was gonna do, what was going on, and yeah, I would sometimes flunk those. You have a test for me, Junk. It was the best you are. Thank you, Mr. Junk. Big hearts and appreciation for you. Okay, let's look at something else. I think some of these things will actually correspond to something else that we're going to take a look at later. See, I got an A. Also, what's really fun about these is when I forget what it is, and I just spoiled it for myself. I looked at the label, so I'm going to turn that away, and then you guys are going to get the fun experience of wondering what the heck is in that box. We have styrofoam, and inside of that styrofoam is probably something, and it may even be a turtle or tortoise. I don't know the difference. If you do, please tell me. Sorry, I was not showing that to camera. This is red paint, by the way. That's not a open wound or anything. Oh, look at that little guy. Name him. You guys should, okay, thank you, Autumn. This is a tortoise. What should we name this tortoise? Those of you that are in the chat get this special opportunity. Fast Freddy. That's so fucking funny. Now, I didn't buy just any tortoise. I bought a very special tortoise. Now, this tortoise is going to help me keep time, because this tortoise holds an hourglass. And unless I'm mistaken, or they've pulled a fast one, this should be a 3-minute timer. And for those of you that don't know, the longest ad breaks on Twitch are 3 minutes. So this is kind of my way of making a practical element that we can all see. And it's something that we can just point a camera at. So I'm not sure why. I guess, turtles and tortoises are slow. So that was the idea behind this. But he's just so cute. And it was funny too, because one of the, actually sent this to Autumn. One of the reviews, I was looking at a set of 3 hourglasses. Dang it, we did it again. 3 hourglasses. And it was a 1 minute, a 3 minute, and a 5 minute timer. And somebody wrote the comment and they were like, this wasn't very practical for me because there's no notification. And I sent this to Autumn and I was like, through many curse words, what the hell do they mean? Of course there's no digital notification on a mechanical sound glass. So I can't tell if they were trolling or not, but I hope they were. I hope for their sake that they were actually trolling. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of bizarre reviews and comments on all the various purchasing websites. So I think it would be fun one day to kind of go through and troll some of those up and make a video about it. But let's take a peek at something else. Now this might actually cause me to take a break. And pretty sure everything's been given away at this point. But this is a giant water bottle. This is a 1 gallon water bottle. And it's simply because I cannot be arsed to go fill my water bottle and then I end up getting dehydrated. So what I had been doing was filling up 2 water bottles. And then I realized maybe we'll just get like the biggest, most insane sized water bottle, just to be silly like that. And I think we can all tell that I have succeeded here. This thing is huge. Is huge. I think I'd say it's larger than my head. For sure. This, I guess I could maybe call out like brand names and things. Then again, I guess I don't care. That's not really the point of this. If someone was interested, let me know and I'll dig through the receipts and find the info for you. But like most water bottles now, you can get different lids. So there's a flippy lockdown and sealing lid. That might be what I end up using. There's also the other type of flippy lid, like so, and you can, that'd be hilarious if water came out, and you can tip it to do your sucking, or, and to anybody that's had any nice water bottle, this is no surprise, you can install a straw on there, and then when you flip up the lid, you don't have to tilt the 10 pounds of water back. So it comes with 2 straws, which is cool, and really excited to see a straw cleaner. I missed my other ones, so that's nice to see. Over the break, I may take this and fill it up and rinse it, obviously, and fill it up. Start putting it to use. But it's pretty too. Kind of the two-tone paint. This is my current one. This is, you know what? We're going to sidetrack here for a little bit. Look at this incredible engineering. So this lid is some of the most elegant design work I have ever seen. And I'm not even really sure where to start, but I guess I'll overview the basic features. There's a lock. It springs open. There's an overriding lock, so the release doesn't work. There's a little handle, but that handle also is shaped so that you can grab it and twist the cap off really, really easily, which is like, I never knew I needed that. And I'm going to miss this bottle, but it's just not quite big enough. But here's where some of the engineering is. So this little nubbin that you do the pull-in through, this guy is silicone. When you close the lid, that becomes a seal on the actual lid, so water does not spill out. Now, when you release it, they've used silicone again on this little rubber band, but that rubber band is used in a weird way where it is the spring for the lid. So there's nothing to rust. There is a tiny metal pin through there, but that's not a terribly big deal. But just the coolest cap I've ever seen. I kind of sit there and just marvel at it from time to time. Like, if I ever were a product designer, this This would be what I would try to make. Yes. Yes, Autumn, it is a ginormous water bottle. Hopefully it's not too big, and I'll be complaining in like a week. I'll be like, guys, my right arm is so tight. Forget I said that. Okay. We have another thing to look at, and it will quickly become evident. I don't think I want to open this. Given what I just heard, that was not good. So we're going to open this very carefully, but I believe it's broken. Which is a damn shame, because I did my freaking research on this one. Yeah. Not looking good. I guess we could look at the packaging and kind of be mean about the packaging. So, everything's cardboard so far, which is a yay for earth friendly, but maybe a nay for shit not breaking. Yeah. Struggling here. This is another hourglass. But if you've been able to hear, god damn it, the damn thing's broken. You can see, well, you can't see. Sorry, I'm trying not to get gritty little sand everywhere. It's not going well. But the top part there, you can't quite tell with all the reflections. But the glass here is broke. Broke did. Not very impressive packaging. There's literally no shock absorbing. There is just a little bit of air gap that they've created by having a lot of cardboard there. So that's really disappointing, because I did read all the reviews on a whole bunch of hourglasses, and most hourglasses are not accurate. It seems like the timekeeping part is irrelevant for a lot of these manufacturers, and they were just like, got sand in it, you should buy it. So I think we now have the dilemma of I made a mess. Trying to show you guys that. I guess we can review the sand. It's very fine. Damn it. I'm gonna flip my little Fast Freddy timer. And we'll go back to this cam, and I'm going to bring the gain way down. Well, that was fun. Not quite the little intermission I was expecting to have. That is, I mean, it needs to be, clearly, but that is some extremely fine, whatever it is. I guess we'll call it sand. I'm sure they want us to think it's sand. But this poor table is... Never expected it to stay clean for long, but it's... We've seen in some other streams it's had its... had to clean it a lot. Okay, let's look at something else here. Yeah, vacuums are cool tech. This is gonna be... Oh my god, there's fucking sand everywhere. Oh, it leaked in the big box. No. God dang it. That's gonna be annoying. Okay. This is reflective film. This is something that you would put on windows, but I'm hoping that it is what I think it is, and we can repurpose it potentially. If not, then I'll just put it on a window, and it should help reduce the infrared heat transfer, or it should at least block some infrared light. But as I struggle on camera once again, god damn, I had to put the littlest pieces of tape. Riveting, I know. So something we took a look at on the last stream was a teleprompter from Small Rig. And we ended up, and Junk got to see this, we ended up setting it up, and this is not an original thing, but we put the chat on it. So I could essentially look at the camera and read the chat at the same time. So it's kind of like a visual engagement. I kind of thought I bought it for multiple reasons, and that was one of them. But I thought it would be a little bit kooky, kind of like weird, to just like wide eye stare, and like my eyes are like twitching as I'm like trying to interact with people. But what ended up happening is it felt really, really natural to look at the camera to try to read what people are saying. So it kind of felt like there was some alignment. I wasn't looking somewhere else and reading and also being aware of how I was being perceived. Now it all like focused in and it made a lot of sense. So I'm sure Junk has rightfully gone to bed at this point. He's got a big old run in the morning to do, and then he'll be starting his 24-hour stream later in the day. But he got to experience that a little bit firsthand, and it'll be coming back. Well, you'll see where the camera is later. But taking a look at this film, it is very shiny, but also slightly translucent or transparent. I don't know which one it is. The thought is maybe I can make one-way mirrors with this. And to me, it's all part of creating more practical effects. But if I can set this up so that under certain lighting conditions, you can see through this, and then under new lighting conditions, something else becomes apparent, I think that would be really cool. The quality of it may not hold up to that for close inspection, but you can always, I mean, a passable image is honestly pretty low quality. Hell, I'm reading chat off a CRT, and it's one of the funnest experiences I've had in a long time. But that's primarily what this is for. If that doesn't work, it may end up just being used for its original purpose, which is to kind of block some extra infrared light. I kind of want to ignore that box. That box is full of crap. Full of sand. The last thing in here might be a good segue to all the funny business going on behind me. These are acrylic sheets. And I think normally people buy these for laser engravers. So it kind of makes sense that I would get one because I want to get my laser engraver going again. But they're also kind of fascinating for their reflective properties. So it is a black, glossy surface. So it's very shiny, but because you can see my face there, because the actual color of it is absorbing so much light and not reflecting it, you mostly just get kind of the brightest parts of the image or just the highlights. And that could be really interesting for what's behind me. Let's see if I can nail a transition here. Yes, we did it. Go us. So behind me, is a turntable, and we took a look at that last stream. But this bad boy is not just any turntable. Let me got my sandbox in the way here. This is an orbiting turntable. So your camera, quite evidently, rotates all the way around whatever you're trying to record. Now, the exciting thing that I've set up for today is this entire monstrosity rig that I've got going on is completely wireless, and I should be able to transmit what the camera is seeing to you guys. Normally this is my webcam, like my main webcam, but now that I have decent supplementary ones and they're fun to play with, we've got this bad boy set up. Obviously not perfectly, it's running into things. But I will segue briefly as that thing in the background just keeps spinning. Because it's very imbalanced. That camera rig is way overweight for what it's actually meant to do. What I was dealing with earlier today, what I was trying to achieve, was to get this working. This is a wireless transmitter. It can transmit basically HDMI into one, and then HDMI out of the other one, and then it's completely wireless between. It can do 4K 30 FPS or 1080 60 at reasonable bit rates, at least above streaming quality. Plenty good for streaming quality. Well, I had some problems. My goal for the stream today was to actually go out in the backyard and split some wood. I have an event coming up on Halloween. We're going to have a bonfire. And I thought it would kind of be a nice reason to do that on stream. Not that I haven't already done plenty of it, but the goal was to use these, have one hooked up to the streaming PC in here, have one hooked up to the camera out there, everything battery powered on the camera, and I could stream audio and video to you guys from my backyard without actually having the streaming computer anywhere near me. It would basically be mobile streaming. But a lot more complicated. I could literally use my little microphone and my phone. I could set it up out there, and it would communicate everything I wanted to communicate, but I don't think it would be a very fun visual experience for people. Obviously, it would be a portrait video, and it would be limited to whatever lenses and zoom and optical quality and video quality that I can get from a mobile device. You can obviously be flexible with phones. You can, as I'm trying to show, use lighting to maximize the image that you get. But what I was hoping to do was to use an anamorphic lens. So you'd have a wide angle view, place a fire off to one side, have the camera kind of waist height or below, but with a fairly long focal length, so a lot of zoom to it. And that would give you a lot of different depth cues in the frame. So we'd have the fire maybe closer, we would have the logs as they kind of build up, and then we'd have me working, and maybe a log that I would like go sit on to rest. And I'd just be working in this environment, chatting with you guys, and stoking the fire, and adjusting exposure basically as kind of the day falls to the evening. If I get tired, then we just hang out by the fire. It was meant to, I guess, be a cozy stream or something like that. But I ran into some issues. So I hooked these up, did a little trial run at the desk, and I did a test recording, and the audio was crapping out. One of the components that had been really critical to getting all this working was an HDMI capture card. Obviously, I've mentioned HDMI. That is what is one of the types of data that's sent into this. If I can cover my face, I think it might focus. Maybe. Let's try something bigger. There you go. Yay. Slightly out of focus frame. There we go. So HDMI is obviously different than USB, but when it comes to webcams versus cameras, it becomes very critical how you roll with that. So the OBSBot Tiny 2s that I have around are only over USB. I could theoretically convert them to HDMI, but you would probably lose a lot of the features of it. At its core, a USB camera, when you plug it into a computer, will prompt the computer and it will show up as a camera. When you plug in an HDMI device, it doesn't work like that. It's not tied down necessarily. It doesn't communicate to the computer where it wants to send that video. So you have to know where to find it. So it's not a really good consumer solution. It's more of a prosumer, or even like for business use types of things like that. But what I got is, this doesn't even say what it is. It's from Condo Blue. That's their packaging. Condo Blue made an HDMI capture card to USB Type C converter. So it takes in an HDMI signal. It knows that you want to use that as a webcam, and it prompts software, and it comes up as basically USB video in a sense. But it is that HDMI source, which is really, really important. I'm lucky enough that my camera can hook up to the streaming rig over USB. That is, not every camera can do that. Some of them can. But what seems to happen is the USB functions are limited in their data throughput. So you typically have reduced frame rates, reduced resolutions, and you're not actually getting the full performance of the camera. So there is a reason to use HDMI, and that's why I was so excited about this process, because it's HDMI all the way through to the USB conversion, and it can't, basically the software limitations for USB output on that camera don't come into play because I've bypassed it. I've seen a little bit of the image and it looked really good, but we're about to take a closer look at it. So let's move back behind me and see if we can't get this whole rig set up. So we've got what is essentially the top-down view and then a secondary view, which should eventually be the camera. Currently, it's just displaying whatever the receiver shows. And I'm going to crank up the audio and yell a little bit as I'm over there because my mic arm will fall off the desk if I try to slide it over there. Okay, we've got a little bit more of the background noise, but that is part of it. So I'll try to move over here and then I will take a peek back at the audio levels. Sand is okay. So we are very hot over there. Let's turn this back down. Maybe somewhere in there. Okay. You guys should still be able to hear me. Obviously, I'm much farther from the mic, but that's okay. So I should be able to flip on this transmitter. And that should power on. I can turn on this battery, which should then power the camera. I can turn the camera on, which should automatically start outputting video. I'm hoping. So we've got it syncing, trying to find its channel. The receiver should also be doing the same. It's woken up the Condo Blue, and there we go. So now we have a live feed. If I get out of the way this time, we have a live wireless feed of this turntable, which is so freaking exciting for me. What a neat way of doing things. I should be able to swap cameras here. And it looks like that won't show us very much. So we'll stick to this one for the wide, and I'll kind of just look over my shoulder. The hostess in the background, yes, you can see. It's so Autumn. The reason I'm doing any streaming in here is I guess I could look at this camera and yell. The motivation, what actually got me back in this very cluttered and dirty room, is the sim rig that I've told you about that I want to build. So this is all to get to that point. I'm basically rehearsing all the skills through little micro projects to get back into the process and to get through the storytelling process and get more familiar with producing content, to the point that when I actually go into that process, go into the build, that part of it is a little bit more solved. So if you can't remember, though I'm sure you do, the plan for that is to have a flight simulator built in with the sim rig, with the gaming desktop as well. So yeah, all the different parts are kind of scattered around this room, which is a lot of fun. Yes, yeah, we're getting serial about it now. Being very, very serious. So, this is the heckin' coolestest thing on Earth because we get to orbit whatever the heck we put on this table. We get our exposure knocked closer to what it should be. Now, you can achieve that with a normal turntable. That's easy for a turntable. But what you don't get with a turntable, trying to get this to adjust, is the parallax effect. So if I turn, probably if I just make this light throw a little bit wider. Can also light up this light a little bit on the background. Now you can see the background, and it kind of puts whatever's on the table into perspective in kind of a neat way. And I think I've got a full 360. Ooh, we're scraping. So yeah, it's not very well balanced. The weights don't quite compensate for the whole mirrorless camera rig, but the view here is super cool. So if we take out that little example piece, we can substitute something a little bit more interesting. And I think what we might do is what I did last time and use a phone, actually a tablet stand, as a little bit of a kind of an angled, something that we can lean things onto. So maybe if we place that back there, we can basically orbit this webcam that we're going to review. Just checking, audio should be decent. Such a good way for showing scale too, absolutely. F5 with sexy camera angles. Gushing over here, absolutely, sir. Sir, you should be. So no one was around for one of these setups we got to do, but I did record it, so that'll get shared a little bit more. But you can light this however you want. So in this case, the lens is a focal point, so we want to see the lens. I can add some fill light on that side, and we can swing into view, and now we can see it. Of course, you can plan to land there. There's nothing motorized here, which I like. It might be less repeatable, but it won't fail. It's not gonna be missing a software update in 10 years and be a piece of junk. It's still gonna be spinning. What is also really cool about the fact that this orbits is you can mount your light with your camera, and now your lighting is revealing whatever is on the table. So I've now put this light off the side, and we can orbit around this, and it's going to start lighting it from all these different angles. So we have our top-down light from above, and then our little fill light that we just have at a warmer color temperature to give it a little bit of contrast, and super easy to reveal everything there. Have a good night, Junk. Thanks for stopping by, bro. Have a good run in the morning. Aww. Love you, Junk. Sleep well tonight, man. I'm excited for your 24-hour stream. I don't have any mowing to do tomorrow, but I'll still be there for some of it. What's also interesting is I've put a fluid head tripod mount here. So we can actually add some compound moves. So we can kind of pivot all the way around. And I'm curious, because I haven't really tried this part, if we can do some tracking shots where we kind of look, obviously, you know, it's already tracking, it's orbiting, but we can kind of shift, maybe we can, if I loosen that a little bit, maybe we can try to shift this from left frame throughout its travel to the right frame, super shakily. I don't know that that's a very practical thing that we'll be able to do, but I do have some thoughts about getting an actual slider and mounting a slider to this. They are coming out with a motorized version, which is, you know, kind of defeats my whole excitement about it not being motorized, but that may still be useful. But I think tilting is probably where this is going to have its biggest effect. This tripod head really is not made for how we're using it right now, but I imagine you could start looking at something from one angle, traveling through to look at a different angle, and then you can have all your lighting match right there. There are some considerations where if you want fixed lighting on the object on the table, it would make sense to point a light at it, but then you have the problem of the camera rolling in the way. So I wonder if there's a way that you can mount mirrors around and reflect spotlights instead. You might be able to get some fill light or some balance light or something like that and be able to control that a little bit better. The shot we got the other day that was super, super cool was of one of the OBSBot Tiny 2s. And they're magnetic on the bottom, so it stuck right there. And then I placed it into two different positions. And as I orbited it, I triggered the OBSBot to look to its other direction. And you had this compound movement of we were orbiting it, and we kind of passed the front side of it, and then it started to look back towards us, and then it looked ahead. It stopped, and then we stopped, but we all stopped in the same spot where there was really, really nice lighting. So that was a ton of fun. What I see being exciting too with this whole rig is when we swap lenses. So that's just the kit lens, and it is a 20-60, and it's not very wide at its widest, like any kit lens, and that's okay. It serves its purpose. But I haven't tried this yet. I'm curious if we involve a macro lens, how that would look. So, got one here. This is a 105 millimeter macro lens. And for anybody that doesn't know, a macro lens just means a lens that can reproduce whatever it is looking at least a 1-to-1 ratio. So if we had a cube, or let's say a die that we were looking at, when it is at macro, it is reproducing the image of that at full scale on the sensor, the exact same size as the die. Close focus can be considered anything less than 1-to-1, but that can still look quite close, and you can still blow an image up considerably. But there are a lot of lenses that go well beyond 1-to-1, and they can actually be 2-to-1, and they're a 2x macro. So let's play with this 1 of 5 macro. We should be able to open that wide up. This will have a shallower depth of field. And I think we need to set it to close focus as a priority. Look on this side. Yeah, we need to have that there. This lens hood might get in the way, so let me move that. Maybe we can tilt it down. It's not catching autofocus on its own, so we're going to switch to manual focus, and we're going to see if we can't get this to focus some sort of way. See a little bit of hope here. We might just be within the range there. So I'm going to dampen the swing. I'll lock down my different axes here. Double check that we're actually looking at this. Yes, we are. And now we have a macro view of the lens of this Elgato webcam. And if we get it just right, we can see the reflection of our little orbiting light here, which I can adjust brightness. So that is, honestly, it's putting in a lot of work for us. Now, I should be able to orbit everything now. The tricky part will be that this is such a shallow depth of field that we'll have a lot of trouble seeing everything, but here's an absolutely gorgeous shot coming around the outside. So let's play this through. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's dope as hell. Let's see if we can look at the logo up top. And I'm going to center this, and we're going to move the camera back on the rails. Unfortunately, this is going to unbalance it even more, but we're right up on minimum focus. So I want to move that back a little bit. And because of how focal planes work, if I move our camera up, which I'm sorry, this is going to be the most jittery experience you've ever had. Sounds weird. But we'll point that back down and hopefully lock off this side pivot. Now I'll manually focus back onto this. And now we can take a spin around the Elgato logo here. There's a nice little light flash somewhere in there. Oh, that's pretty cool. I think for you guys, you're missing out on just a little bit. Not quite centered, so let me try to fix that. there's that. We may also add a full view for you guys. Let's record a full view for everybody. So we'll do a full orbit, or near full orbit here. That's just unreal. Unreal. And then you can change center. So parts of it come into focus, parts of it go out of focus. Almost as if we're tracing it with our focus here. Honestly, at this point, you guys are just watching me catch some B-roll for the for the video, but we can take this element here, and that is going to be almost a perpendicular plane to where we're looking, so we're going to drop the camera. And I'll actually situate that about as low as it goes at the moment. Although, you know what, I can get it lower. Let me swap back to our double view so you aren't just seeing what looks like the inside of my hand. So I can lower the whole mechanism down. Now you guys are starting to get a little bit of an idea of what I was seeing. So we're going to put the lettering right at center. We'll adjust our focus. Let's capture that. And we'll take a spin around this guy. Let me get you guys full frame again. All right. Freaking little lens flare too. Let's go. I bumped the camera. I was too excited. I think we could reframe, but man, I really liked how it just had that hint of light right over the top, and then it has this little light flare right through there. Okay, let's swing it. It's fucking incredible, guys. Oh, and it settled right where it needed to. Okay. I want to see what this side looks like here. Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool too. Let's do that. Here we go. If I can get a little bit more movement on it. That is the one drawback, is if it's not perfectly balanced, it won't fully spin around. So I may need to help it a little bit, which is tricky. It will can introduce micro jitters. I'll try to keep it moving here. And don't be surprised if that's the opening shot for dang it, I bumped it. for the webcam review or something like that. That is unreal what we're able to do here. So yeah, you can focus on whatever you like. Clearly, we could pick the lens. Try to look way down in the lens. Let's actually bring you back where it shuts off a little bit and come around. My goodness. Oh, I think it's cooler from the other way. Yeah. What a what an amazing thing to be able to do. There are some complications because this is not automated. I can't plan the starts and stops, but we can know where it starts as like a fixed point. We don't, like, maybe we know where it starts, but we don't know, we don't care where it ends up after that. So if we, let's say we started here, like we wanted to end the shot just past that flare, well, as long as we're smooth about it, we just move it in reverse, let it do its take, and then just play the video backwards, and it is guaranteed to stop wherever it started. That's one way I've figured would help us get around it. The other solution is to dial up the friction just a little bit and just do a few takes until it stops right where it needs to. That's obviously a lot easier when this is balanced. And I think I could load this down with the counterweight side a lot more. But I want to avoid that as much as I can. I don't want to get too into the weeds with it. Let's take a look at something else. How about Fast Freddy? Our little guy. My goodness. So we'll do some work here. Take a good look at this little guy. And really, he's much too big to really get a full grasp. But dang, that's still a good reveal. Wow. We're gonna swap straight back to full frame here. So where do we want to end? Oh, I love it with the bokeh in the background. Kind of this over the shoulder look too. It's like you don't know what you're looking at yet. Like, can you imagine a product review for a 3-minute tortoise sand timer? And this is the intro shot. There's like some dramatic music, like dun 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 dun. Okay, let's try to get a good little halfway decent orbit. Clip farming at this point. Look at that little guy. Oh, with the light in the background. Incredible. Oh, it settled in such a good spot. Or at least slowed way down. That's amazing. Okay. I want to play with the sand. So we're going to move our little guy here. And now that we kind of have the camera low, I want to see about an up shot. Maybe we look a little bit lower. And we'll try to focus. Let's turn a little bit. May not be able to. I think our little side handle deal is kind of screwy here. But I think we can get focus here. So we can't see the sand move with any clarity. So I think it might be more important to have something else in focus. The glass being in focus is pretty dang cool. We just lost our light, but that's still neat. I love how this macro lens is just absolutely blowing the background out. Like it's not even a concern. Because there's literally like a Harbor Freight bucket in the background. Let me bring this around a little bit more. Can't quite do a full 360 at the moment, but we'll get close here. That was pretty cool. Let's see if we move our camera up now. Shaky cam. Then tilting back down. Ooh. Ooh. I like that. Let's go all the way up for this angle. We can raise the rail set up. We've taken it down a decent amount, but I think it's okay for now. So I'm gonna try to center. Maybe we'll get a little more height if we take Fast Freddy off, and he won't be in frame anyway. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to look down at the sand as it's like finally draining through. And I should probably, since my little light died, plug it in. Try to get it to charge back up. Because that little light is super handy. Okay, so we've moved, I think you guys can see that, yep. So we've moved forward and up. We could go higher up, but this might be high enough because we've already moved Sir Tortoise down. Now we need to see if we're too close for focusing. This being a macro. And that is rough. Let's see if we can swap to AF. Let the motors do the work. I think we're probably just too close. It may just be too close. So let me slide this back. double check that I am actually roughly centered. Yes, we are. So what I was just doing, if we had a slider, you could automate something like that in conjunction with these other movements. Unlock this a little bit. You really need a better tripod head for something like this. I do have a gimbal head, I think they're called. And I can actually show you guys. I think they're used in birding. They're definitely in the photography realm. So it's a 3-axis. This would be a great thing to put on the table and show off, but this is a 3-axis geared mechanism, geared head. Basically, you can turn these knobs, and it has a gear mechanism that gives you very precise control. But then you can also release that mechanism and make larger movements. These are quite expensive. I got really lucky and somebody gifted that to me. And it's just kind of lived on my tripod. I've been using it with my camera pretty much the whole time. So we're gonna start this sand. And of course we have 3 minutes to wait. I now realize should have kept it going. So maybe we can look at the top and we can drop our exposure and we can kind of see this neat light pattern that's brought in from the glass base. It's kind of acting like a magnifying glass. And it's moving very quickly at this macro pace, but let's get a shot here. We're going to swap to full screen so we can document this. And let's give her a spin. And let it come back. I'm probably moving too fast for this frame rate. It probably looks a little bit jittery, but one of the limitations of consumer hardware that I've encountered is I can't get full frame rates. I'm gonna have to lock in here for a second, guys. We're about to hit a moment in time where we need to be getting this. Okay, I throw my focus. Let's go. I think my focus is off, but we're gonna roll with it. Oh my god. What? I'm trying to get my freaking camera to change. Oh, that's why. Main cam is disabled there. Holy shit! That was incredible. I think I kind of missed the live preview because I was like so invested in making sure it worked, but looking at the focus on this, we might have gotten pretty close. Maybe I'll focus now for like the last part. This little focus preview is kind of killing me. may take some guesswork. I'm going to try to do that one more time. But what I was saying about the frame rates is, so there's USB, HDMI, and SDI, as far as I'm aware, for kind of standard video output, for cameras at least. And USB isn't used in a professional sense, that's more your consumer stuff. HDMI is, but SDI is like the pinnacle. And the transmitters that I have do have SDI as an option, which is nice, but that's like another workflow that I don't want to get involved with yet, because I barely even want to touch HDMI because I want to stick in the USB realm of things. But with this recorder, you only get non-fractional frame rates from the SDI output. So that's like your full 30 FPS, not your 29.97, which is a problem because my camera doesn't output, it outputs fractional frame rates. So, or maybe I have that backwards. Maybe this only outputs full frame rates. Yes, full frame rates and only fractional frame rates for your broadcast standards on the SDI. So there's a mismatch of a tiny, tiny fraction of a frame, which is enough that, sorry, I keep clicking the wrong scene. Actually, we're gonna go right back here. It's enough of a desync that it looks like a frame misalignment, like in a game, where VSync would correct for it. Let's just get our shot here. Not quite. We're focused on the back, but I still like it. Still beautiful. Actually, it's cool. I think Autumn, you were saying this, but seeing the little grains on the very back of the glass, that is super cool. Wow. So there's another shot I want to get, and I think we can stay at the same level, but I need to kind of pre-plan this and do some guessing. So we're going to point this down at the bolt in the very middle, and then we're going to zoom back, or not zoom, we're going to focus back. Actually, we need to focus closer. We're going to bring our focus closer, and I'm going to hope that is made up for the thickness of the base. And I'm going to get my little light that's been charging for like a minute, and keep it on it's got a little warmer gel to it, and I like that color contrast at the moment, so we're going to stick with that. But let's see if we can really get this shot. So we're guessing at a lot of different things, but you know, this is a great venue for it because we can just keep trying. And the light isn't lighting. Dang it. Oh, now it is. What the heck? Okay. So I'm going to guess exposure 2. So I think we need to up the exposure quite a bit because we're going to have sand on top. Also going to bring the focus closer still. Maybe not that close. Somewhere in there maybe. And then this side light, I think we need to drop it. Make it more of a fill. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We flip this and we see the sand start dropping down right in the middle. We got it. We're still getting it. But it's not quite what I thought. I really liked it earlier. There was something I was seeing. Maybe it's to do with the exposure. No, it's not really looking right. Ooh. Now that's pretty cool. Slightly out of focus there, but we can see a little bit better kind of what I was going for. Also just had a great idea for another shot, if you can believe it. I think focus wasn't too bad, so we'll just have to make sure we kind of center it decently. Focus is only a tiny bit off, says Autumn. Okay. If that's sarcasm for what we're looking at right now, that's fucking hilarious. Okay, we're about all the way through. I love that little bit at the end. It was. Bit out of focus, mate. Alright. I'm gonna start the camera way over here, and we'll just go for it. Holy shit, we're getting it. Keep spinning. Nice. Another good one. Another one. So what I just saw as a really cool frame, turn the light off and save its battery for a second, is if we backlight this change, please. There. If we were to backlight this, I wish I had a second clamp over there. It would almost make sense to just put a second super clamp on this. So I think I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to steal one of my other super clamps, which are these guys, these kind of compound grip doodads, and I'll install that. This might actually be the one from this whole setup, but we'll steal back our main rig here some sort of way. There we go. And we'll reinstall the clamp. Okay, now we've got our magic arm with 2 clamps, and I can stick this on the back end over here instead of disassembling a bunch of stuff and moving my little built-in clamp. And then I should be able to configure this to hold my light. Autumn, you need this for your Hot Wheels. This is like the rig. Actually, hell, just send them to me. I'll make you a bunch of B-roll. So here's what I'm seeing. Let's maybe turn that down a bunch. Okay, we need to get lower. I think about level with the table. Maybe about there. We'll tilt up. Need to reduce exposure some. Okay. And center. Tilt back. Center again. So now we have a light that is going to always be on the opposite of our sand. And if I center this really well, we can get our final alignment. I'm going to go back full frame here. Let me sidetracked, and you got auto modded for that? What the hell? Oh, shit. Silly. Man, I swear all the frickin' time. I wonder if it's just a default setting for the Twitch. I'll have to look into that later. But yeah, Autumn says I still need to get on the paint setup. I've been sidetracked with Lego stuff. I'm actually working towards. I have a coworker that used to. I don't know if he worked in a body shop or if he was just a painter, but I was kind of picking his brains a little bit today. I want to set up a little spray painting booth for like the dioramas and stuff. So yeah, airbrushing and whatever else. And we actually have something for that that's arrived today to still unbox. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit here. Alright, I'm going to try to get our focus nailed. And now that I think of it, we're actually going to be looking down more once I flip this. So I'm going to look up here for my focus, and I'm trying to move to what I think is the middle, and then maybe a little bit past, because we're actually going to be looking down. And I don't think we need to see the base all the way. Okay. Now I'm kind of considering exposure. I think I might raise it a stop. And we're going to give this a shot. Let's move back full frame for everybody. Okay. So that's what we're working with now. We've got our backlight. Hopefully it stays centered when I flip it. And we'll spin. Holy shit. Oh my god, we got it. Oh, hit the thing. No. Hell, you could sell this as stock footage. All that light that's creeping in from the edge on this side. Ooh. Oh, it's getting into focus more. How the hell? I almost kicked it. Man, that's so cool. I bumped into it, but... Oh, so that's the spin rig. That is, my pride and joy at the moment. What a nifty apparatus. And now that it's set up completely wireless, I can spin for days. Oh, that is so cool. Let me shut off these various parts. Curious how much battery I used. About 30%. That's not too bad. Let's get Fast Freddy here. And make our way back over to the table. So, why don't we do a little... Okay, let's talk about the cameras. So these are AI tracking as well. And I didn't clue into it earlier, but the light changes. So I can toggle tracking with a hand gesture. I can also... Let me make sure let me turn my gain down a little bit. Actually, it wasn't too bad. A little bit surprising. But what it does right now is it's trying to more or less center my face in the frame. It's using AI to understand where the face is, and as I move, it follows me. This was one of the coolest things that I saw about this, because my thought is, like the camera that is up behind me, if I put that up on a C-stand like it is in the corner of the room and I leave it to auto track, as I leave the desk space and I run over to what'll be the laser engraver, the painting booth, the 3D printer, I could scene switch to that, and now we're at a wide angle view and it's just tracking me, and I don't have to worry about the framing, switching cameras. I just have one that's generally kind of tracking me. It also gives you the features of, I can kind of reframe on the fly. So I have my presets, but I'm not necessarily limited to that, because I can move to a new spot. I can hold up my hand as a stop, and it should stop tracking me. So now I can move in the frame again. I can also, as we encountered many times, it's blinking like it wants to. I can also zoom. I'm sure it works better when you have a much less cluttered background, but without even touching the remote, I can zoom as needed. Then you can also release the tracking. It's a digital zoom, so even though I'm off frame for you guys, it'll still see my hand. It's a 4K webcam that can crop up to 4 times. So I don't know if that's 720p, but this is, I think this is fully zoomed in. And for an online stream, it ain't bad. So let me press the remote button here, and it's gonna reset to its very default 0, 0 coordinates, and then I can tell it to return to position 1. And now we're reframed as we were earlier. I'm going to take a quick break to get some more water. I don't think I'll fill up the big jug because we don't have a crazy amount to go over still, but we do have 3 more boxes to open and take a look at and discuss the goodies. So yeah, it works better when I don't do it on purpose. That's so true. That's so true. Before I take this quick break, let me catch up on the info that Autumn was sending. Line of space from last year, and this year is all the modular stuff. So you can connect all the little pieces together. Oh, you finished the space kit that you're working on. Okay. Okay, the line of space from last year, and then this year is all modular stuff. So you can connect all the little pieces together. That's super cool. And then the kit you got today was the 6044-6 Galactic Spaceship. And that is made up of lander modules that you combined with the 6043-9 Space Science Lab to make a big base. Okay. That's super cool. So you have just a bunch of different modules now, kind of like a Mars base or something like that. Very cool. Well, why don't we put Little Fast Freddy, the name that we've appropriated from Autumn's grandma, and we're going to put him to work. Oh yeah, the base is an interstellar. So I will be back within 3 minutes. I didn't make it back in time. Shame on me. So, let's move you back to position 1. Welcome back to me. Let me grab these boxes. Oh, God. Well, I guess it's one box, really. Yeah. So we'll open that one up and we'll discuss the other part that's hiding underneath. Let me plug this light back in. That was kick ass. There we go. I think now that we know we're able to stream wirelessly, I will probably try to do that wood cutting stream this weekend if I am able. I am busy tomorrow evening, but perhaps Sunday. Oh, you think he ran out quicker than he's supposed to? Maybe he's like a 2-minute. Maybe I got cheated. Okay. So this is what it says in the box. It is an aperture light box. And I don't have any set up currently to demo. So I'll try to build this for you. So there's a reflective lining on the inside, Velcro, and then a black material on the outside. So it's just a giant reflector in essence. And then there's a Bowens mount base. Bowens mount comes in different sizes, but this size is your very standard size. It's a modular light fixture mounting system, and that is where these 3 little squares are, and then the tube, that is the Bowens mount. Then everything else is usually proprietary after that. Every light manufacturer, it seems like, tries to reinvent this, and it can be better, it can be worse, but you have to buy their modifiers. So I only buy Bowens mount equipment because I want it to be versatile, and at the end of the day, you can sell Bowens mount. In my opinion, you won't have much trouble selling it, whereas something proprietary, you better hope it's popular or in demand. And it may only be in demand because it's proprietary. Just like when I bought my first anamorphic lenses, I decided to buy with the PL mount, which is very versatile, very adaptable, and it is not really a drawback in any way, but it allows me to invest in glass that I should be able to resell down the road should I need to. So these fiberglass rods have little metal ends on them, and you kind of just bend them down into place, and then you can Velcro up the gap at the top that is there to let you access everything. And then once that's done, you could mount it, but it won't do a whole lot for you. It's just a giant rectangle at this point. I'll try to give you a pass-by perspective. So what you want to add is diffusion, and this comes with probably 2 layers in these bags. So I think this is our inner layer, potentially, or is this the inner layer? Both have Velcro, which is a little bit confusing. Typically there's a little suspended piece that you can clip into the corners, and I see the little loops, but I don't see this other piece having those same loops. But this is usually easiest if you find the corner and throw it in the bottom of the Velcro, and then you just try to stab your two corners, place a couple times in the middle, and then every several inches I place it down just to get the hooks to grab. And then when I get close enough, I place the corner, place the other corner, and continue down the other side. So it's pretty easy to set up. What I love about the studio that I've been slowly building out here is I can leave lights set up permanently. So I actually have, let's go to camera 3, go to position 3, and we'll move from there. So mounted to the wall are light mounts. So I actually don't have to have stands on the ground anymore. I have these arms that mount to the wall, and then they reach out and hold the different lights for me. What a freaking smooth operation here. So I've got those two mounted to the wall, and then I do have one C stand here with a little boom arm, and that's for my little spotlight on the table. And we can go back to that. I don't think we'll need it, but, and that, oh, that's our top view. Camera 2, which is pointing over there for some reason now. The buttons are a little bit small. I got big thumb. Smooth operator. What we also get with this, oh, there's our little, okay, so this is the part that clips in between. It adds a little bit of diffusion. Then I think we might actually have 2 layers of diffusion, like the one that I just installed. And then my favorite thing, what's really changed lighting for me once I finally installed it and realized what the heck it does, is the grid, or the egg crate, maybe you could call it, the egg carton. But this is just a grid, and it helps to direct light. They're a little bit harder to install. And that seems to come apart slightly. Ah, it's designed that way. So I just clip the one end, try to run this down in a few spots like we did before. These can get frustrating if you clip it in the wrong spot. Then you're kind of fighting it a little bit. But honestly, they're pretty forgiving. Very, very simple. So now we have this grid on our light, and what the grid does is it helps reduce light spillage to the sides. So when you just have the bare diffusion, your light doesn't just come out straight, it will actually come out to the side, so you're gonna get a lot more light spill. And I found that out in a video that I still have to edit, where I had my big I think it was 1x4, 1x5 to the side, and I didn't use the grid, and it just put all of this light on the background behind me. I was lit, and so was the background, so there was no difference in the brightness of that light. So I really didn't achieve anything. I just made everything brighter. So that was kind of redundant. It wasn't very good lighting. I've learned a lot since. So what I have behind me is a light on a stand, and this has a Fresnel modifier on it. And if I take it off, the stand's going to get pretty unbalanced, and it's kind of starting to run away. So I need to deal with that briefly, and then I'll show you what the Fresnel is. Okay, if you stay there for just a second, please. So a Fresnel is just a focusing apparatus. So it has this large glass lens, which is a Fresnel lens. A Fresnel lens is flat on one side, but it has grooves on the other side, and that causes the light to be bent. And this one is focusable, so you can change kind of the throw angle from it, make more of a spotlight. And the light quality from this is very much like daylight, and that's why I got this. It, given, you know, you plan out the color temperature and everything, you can essentially place a shaft of light somewhere that looks an awful lot like daylight. Daylight, of course, is much bigger than just that spot, but at least if you're working with a tabletop or you just want to throw a little bit of a daylight effect in somewhere, a Fresnel can be really good for that. It can also just be a little bit of a spotlight. So let's throw this modifier on this light now. And usually what I end up doing is I'll crack open one of these corners so I can handle this from the inside. That sounds weird. And there is a knob on this one that you loosen, and you can adjust the bowens. So I'm going to adjust it to a different position, tighten that back down, and hopefully this is going the right way where I can turn it the needed direction. Okay, we got it clipped in. Now I'm going to loosen that adjustment knob again, and I can roll my light a little bit, tighten that back down, and now instead of light spilling absolutely everywhere like it was with the bare bulb, we just have the one kind of soft area of light. Obviously we've lost a lot of light because we've diffused it. So if I turn this back up, go maybe 50%. Now we have very diffused light, but kind of in a narrow beam. And that is probably going to end up being what I have for my overhead light, because I'll be able to recess it up against the wall and then kind of tilt it back towards myself. The softbox is nice for the tabletop view, but the light is very directly down on me. But because it's soft, it kind of compensates a little bit for that. But in reality, I'd probably prefer it to face me a little bit more, but still be somewhat down, and use it as probably more of a key light. Okay, so we took a look at that. I do also have another one from Godox this time. And this one, this is the base plate, which is very similar. It also has, in this case, it's 4 thumb screws instead of just the one. Godox is a more budget-oriented brand, but they still provide a lot of value, honestly. We still have a grid. We have our outer diffusion. That may be the only diffusion we got. And then feeling this, it feels like it has the reflective portion on the inside, which it does. And then you have your rods as well, which These feel like metal. I don't know if the other ones were metal or if they were fiberglass. Doesn't particularly matter either way. So very, very similar. We're just missing the extra layers of diffusion. Although we have our inner layer, it looks like, so maybe not the second outer layer. I don't know why you would need so much. That's a lot of diffusion. But why did I get these two? I'm thinking these will make really, really good work of lighting a green screen. Because the light is somewhat contained widthwise, but still pretty even diffusion vertically, I shouldn't get a hot spot in the middle of the green screen, and I should be able to pull them back and angle them and kind of balance and cancel out where the light fall off happens between the two of them. And I need to do a little bit of green screen work for the webcam demo to kind of illustrate, if you are going to try to do any kind of keying, what your results may be like, assuming hopefully what I can do is best case scenario lighting. So I think one of these might be taller than the other one, just judging by the size of the bags. The aperture is maybe 4 feet and the Godox maybe 5 feet. And then I think my other one is even bigger than that. Maybe it's 6 feet. So between those, I do have some options. These were picked up used, and they were between $30 and $40 a piece, which is kind of another win towards let's buy used equipment and let's invest in our lighting before we invest in our cameras. To a point. You have to have something to work with, but okay, last box before we wrap things up here. And this autumn is the exciting one for the painting projects. More cardboard. Hopefully this won't be like the hourglass that we opened earlier that was completely shattered. Looks like they want me to lift it out. Of course, bumping into the microphone. If I can back up here. There we go. Ta-da! It looks like the, what is it, the reactor from No Man's Sky? The thing that just goes indefinitely, and it's incredibly annoying. It really does look like the reactor from No Man's Sky. So this is an inline duct fan. I don't know that you can tell from that side. No, you can't. From this side. So there's blades in there. There's a motor behind it. There's a bracket on the bottom that you can mount with. Too lazy. I'm just too lazy to blow my own air. This involves some research. There are nicer brands, maybe in the $80 to $100 range, that look nice, but I actually think they would have hindered the setup that I'm planning to do with these. So a lot of these are used in herbal growing areas. So they're pretty popular, but I don't know that everybody has the same concerns. With like noise and things. Obviously there's a little bit of a concern there. My main concern was the usability of the remote. This does have a remote, but I don't necessarily need it. My use case is to have this as an extraction fan, which typically these are used just for airflow. An extraction fan could be what this is used for as well, but I am planning to pull the air through filters. That may not be the best use case of this. This is designed for higher CFM, lower static pressures, where pulling through filters you need higher static pressure and lower CFM. It's a different fan design, but I'm hoping that running this will still be enough. For laser engraving, basically trying to extract the smoke, the fumes, this should work quite well. I don't have to do a lot of filtering to that air, but it makes sense to do a little bit, because if I do eventually get a better laser engraver that can affect metals, you will have tiny metal particulates. And I don't really want those building up in an electrically powered motor housing. That doesn't sound like a great thing for the fire inspector. But the other thing, Autumn, is for a paint booth. And that is when I really probably do need to do a little bit more filtering. I really don't want to send a bunch of paint fumes into this. I don't know whether it is a brushed fan or not, or whether it's even if those brushes would be exposed, but those do cause sparks. So we'll have to maybe look at that for sure. But the main goal, what I'm trying to avoid, is to filter the air just enough to kind of cut down on the paint particulates. Yeah, I will need some proper filtration for that. I don't necessarily mind getting paint on this, and I assume if I have enough of the really, really cheap blue filters that just have the kind of mesh, and I have enough in a line, I'm sure the static attraction of the airflow over that eventually will pull most of it out of the air, versus putting like a HEPA filter in there and then really struggling to pull air and having to add a lot more surface area. I think that may work pretty well. We're going to turn this on and see what it sounds like and test the controls, because the controls are why I bought this particular model. I went back and forth on a whole bunch of them, but I did want to point out that this isn't very well assembled. It is actually a metal ring that runs around both of these to clamp it down. Then it's a plastic housing, plastic impeller, but a metal base, which is nice to see. The base is held on with rivets, and there's a bit of a grommet here on the power plug, but I can't say whether this is meant to be used in any kind of moisture environment. So what I need to do is that's honestly funny. So they have wing nuts on the bottom of these screws. If I get my face out of here, I think it'll focus. This newfound problem of face and frame can't lose face focus. So those wing nuts you can't actually turn because it hits the frame. So I guess it holds the screw for you, but you still have to use a screwdriver. So I am going to reinstall this one side. It's basically slipped the metal ring off of the plastic housing. It looks like this just holds the bell housings together. I'm kind of assuming that's what that would be called. I think that's more of a motor terminology thing, but I feel like it might apply. So I'll just back this off until I almost lose that wing nut, and then I'll see if I can kind of gather the slack back around, which I can. So the screw's at least long enough to do that service. And I will tighten this back up, and I'll kind of watch the ring as I go. Maybe adjust it a couple times. Actually, it looks like it's going pretty good, so I think I'll just tighten out the rest of the way. not a bad mechanism, and I'm glad it's metal instead of plastic. A lot of these are plastic, and plastics tend to get brittle with age. The metal will at least not, and it's not under, the plastic's not under tension, so it should last a long time. Okay, let's get this plugged in. I can steal the plug for my receiver down here. And see if she turns on. Good. Okay, so one thing I want to test with this is unplugging the remote. It turns on. It's a little kind of forceful. I'm a little bit impressed. Not too lazy. So unplugging it, it will ramp up to full speed, but it's a soft start. So it's not like a typical AC motor with a capacitor where it needs like a startup capacitor to actually, or I guess it's a capacitor and startup coils. And it's like it's a whole process that just feels really jarring. Streamer blown on camera. God damn. Why was that not auto moderated? Dang it. So with the remote unplugged, it gently ramps up to full speed. It seems like it wasn't vibrating too much. I did see there's little clips on the blades, which I don't think I'll be able to get a great shot of. There we go. So you can see one metal clip right there. So they did balance the blades with those metal clips, and it seems like they did a good job. I have seen reviews for the fans where clearly the reviewer was sent the fan for free, and they turn it on for the first time and it's like vibrating on the desk. They're like, man, this fan's great. But it's nice to see that's balanced. I figured I would have to balance it myself, and I may have to one day, especially if it gets caked up with paint. But I'm glad to see it soft starts. Glad to see that it turns on with the remote off, like disconnected. So my plan is to trigger this fan from a remote switch and possibly ignore this remote entirely. I think almost every fan does that, which is good. But what I'm hoping for with this remote, okay, so I've set it to a lower speed. I'm going to set this down to the side. And we'll take a reference of the kind of the maximum pitch that we have there. Then I will unplug it. I'm going to plug it back in, and we'll see if it goes to full speed, if it doesn't turn on, or if it goes back. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted it to do. So you can buy these inline duct fans with much fancier remotes. There is one, I think, from AC Infinity, and it's branded really to boost duct work for air conditioners. But it's very fancy. You can get like a temperature sensor, so as it cools off the temperature sensor, then it kicks the fan on. But their remote, I noticed, was all digital, and you had to basically, anytime you turned it on, it defaulted to the off state if the remote was plugged in. So you couldn't just set a speed and then toggle the power to it like I'm planning to do. So this, I got lucky with this. I just went off the pictures basically and saw, okay, cheap ass remote, maybe it's gonna work better, and it does. So I can set whatever speed I want here, and then I can use a remote switch to toggle the power on and off, which basically just means I can let this be quieter because I will be filming around it. I don't want it to be incredibly loud. So let's turn this all the way up again on the remote. Not bad. Let's maybe do its minimum speed as a comparison. So there's a fair bit of dead zone from the off section until it just starts up. This is its minimum. It's moving air. Not a useless amount of air, but a pretty minimal amount of air. So that's a good range on this little remote. So hopefully this lasts the test of time because it was remarkably affordable. I think this was maybe in the $40 to $60 range. And some of these fans sit around there, but they easily can get a lot more expensive. There was one from, oh shit. One from Vivor, and they tend to make decently priced, like budget conscious tools and things. And their version I saw a review of when I was doing my research, and it was the one that was like vibrating on the table because the impeller didn't seem like it was very well balanced. And that's, you know, I could balance it. I could put, you know, super glue a paper clip to whichever fin needs it. But if it comes out of the box running right, then I'm all the happier for it. So I have 6-inch ducting on my laser engraver when I have it all set up. So that's why I got a 6-inch duct. Also, when your fan blades are larger, they spin slower to move the same amount of air, which means they can be quieter. So it's a little bit of a noise thing as well, using the larger duct size. But I'm pretty happy with that. Was a little apprehensive that it maybe wouldn't even turn on, or it'd be too lazy to turn on, but good to see. Okay, I think that pretty much gets us all the way through the recent packages that had been acquired. So I'm happy to have that done, and I'm not feeling like I need to capture any B-roll or anything. Thank you all for tuning in, Autumn, especially Junk Midget when you dropped by, and Marbles. Hopefully everyone is having a good evening and sleeping well and feeling very studied up for whatever testing they have coming up. Tomorrow, I may possibly try to redo the wood chopping stream. It won't be in the evening like I was hoping to do, so the lighting won't be what I wanted, but maybe I can get a better idea of what that would look like in the near future. We do also have the CRT to start messing with, so I may do a game stream from the CRT and set up a camera to look at it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's crazy how low the input latency is. I almost don't even care about the resolution at that point. And something like Valheim would look phenomenal on that little screen. So that'll be a lot of fun to look at. We also have the teleprompter that came in on last stream. We had the spin table as well. So we should be able to mess around with those things looking forward. But I don't think there's too much else that I really want to purchase or get invested in. I think we've done a lot, and I think with the webcams that I will be doing a review on that'll keep me decently busy for a little while. So I'm glad to have all the gear to play with, but now we just need to start using it. And that will be what the next few streams are all about. So thank you guys for tuning in on Twitch and on YouTube, and I will catch everyone next time. Have a good night.